just taken out of the rotation. I guess they wanted to, well, they're going with what they got.
Another base hit. One run is in. Spencer scores. Doyle heads for third. Dent heads for second. He's safe. Double. Well, we talked about him already several times today. The little guys at the bottom of the lineup have really been amazing.
Doyle and Dent have been on base 7 times in this ball game. They have scored 4-5 runs between them.
Now watch this, Tony. Watch this play at second and a tag by Davy Loach. Now he just doesn't turn around patty cake him. He pops in pretty good. He's not very happy out there.
In the 1978 World Series, Bucky Dent hit .417 and knocked in 7 runs. He was named the World Series MVP. But we're not talking about the 1978 World Series today. Welcome into Crafting the Call. I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler with the Lansing Lugnuts.
And I'm Josh Sushan with the Albuquerque Isotopes. No, Jesse, we are talking about the Bucky bleeping Dent game. Game number 163, Yankees, Red Sox, Fenway Park, 1 game to decide who is the American League East champion, a game that will live in infamy in Boston.
It was the second tiebreaker in American League history to that point. It was the Red Sox who had jumped out to a great start the year. Then they choked. They lost their full lead. They had to win on the final game of the season, and the Yankees had to lose the final day of the season to even force the tiebreaker. And it was played at Fenway Park, and it was played on Rosh Hashanah. And the Red Sox were, with a talented squad, Josh, looking to break the curse.
What I find fascinating about this, Jesse, is that 1978, for me, that doesn't feel like it was that long time ago, but it was. It was a really long time ago. Not every baseball game was televised back in 1978. It was a day game, the day after the season. And the quantity of broadcasts that we have from that day that still exist is fascinating to me. We have Red Sox TV, we have Yankees TV, we have national TV. There was also Red Sox and Yankees radio, and there was also a national radio feed. We're not going to hear all 6 of those broadcasts. We're going to pick and choose here and there. But the point is that for a day game, the day after the season ends, when it was not scheduled, this 1 game tiebreaker and everything that needed to come together to get all of these broadcasts on the air is fascinating to me, Jesse. And it's also going to be a time capsule of how baseball was broadcasted back then, what the images looked like and what the commentators looked like and what the graphics looked like. And so it's going to be really fun to dive into this one.
All eyes are on Fenway Park. All ears are on Fenway Park. And because of that, I think that it has outsized the moment. Let's go.
Let's start with how Red Sox radio came on the air and set the scene.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fenway Park in Boston. With Ned Martin, this is Jim Woods, and this is One for the Money. All of it. The big bag of marbles. The second playoff game in the history of the American League, and the Boston Red Sox have been involved in them both. Harking back to 1948. And if there's anything else going on in this world today, I don't know what it is, because this is a baseball mad city, and you can imagine it's the same down in New York. The tickets were all gone for this game by 6 o'clock last night before we ever left the press room here. People all over Kenmore Square and in the various watering holes around this ballpark trying to buy a ticket for love, money, anything they could get. But this is it, baby. The Yankees and the Red Sox, Guidry and Torres for all of it. We'll be back with the starting lineups in a moment.
Jesse, people were trying to get tickets from love or money in Kenmore Square. Jim Woods comes on the air and says people are in Kenmore Square and they'll do anything, including love, to get tickets to this game. That's how it started.
It is such a good laying of the foundation. He takes you right into the watering holes. If there's anything else going on in this world, I don't know what it is. It's so good.
Okay, so that's how Red Sox radio started off. Let's look at how ABC television with Keith Jackson started off that broadcast.
ABC Sports.
The American League Eastern Division, July 19, 1978, the Boston Red Sox led comfortably 9 games over Milwaukee, 12 games over Baltimore, 14 games over the New York Yankees. But come on down the summer and into August and into September, and the Yankees suddenly were on top by 3 full games over the Boston Red Sox on September 16. But now we have come to the end of the season. The season will be 1 game longer than scheduled because the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees finish all even at 99 and 63. And today, live from Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts, the second playoff game ever in the American League matches the Yankees and the Red Sox from Fenway Park. This ABC Sports Exclusive is brought to you by Chevrolet and your Chevy dealers coast to coast. And by light beer, everything you always wanted in a beer and less. This has been, in many ways, an historic season for baseball. Total attendance more than 40 million, both the American and National Leagues going over 20 million. And that is the first time in baseball history that has ever happened. This being the second time in American League history that we have had a playoff game. It was 30 years ago here at historic old Fenway Park that Cleveland beat Boston by a score of 8-3. And we come to number 2. The Red Sox are right here, primed and ready to go. There are 2 men in this ballpark today who were involved in that 1948 game. The manager of the Yankees, Bob Lemon, was a starting pitcher with the Indians, and the Boston coach, Johnny Pesky, started at third base that day and got 1 base hit. The place is full. Why wouldn't it be? My goodness, if there isn't something about a moment like this in sports that stirs your faithful and rouses the competitive juices in a man, you got no business being involved in sports. Because this is one of those games that perhaps could be counted even more important than a World Series, or even more important than a playoff game, because those are series. This one, 1. That's it. Bottom line, you win, you go to Kansas City to play the Royals for the American League Championship. You lose, you go home for the winner. Hello again, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson, and it's a tremendous thrill for me to be here at this old ballpark where for the second successive year they have drawn over 2 million, and the seating capacity is not that big. Just under 34,000. We'll have more than that here today. But it speaks well of this old game that has gone on so well for so many years. And the drama that's come along this year as the Yankees threatened to come unglued early in the year. Bob Lemon took over July 25. Since that time, the Yankees have won 47 and lost 20. Don Zimmer sat almost helplessly and watched his Boston Red Sox slide from first place into second place. But here they are with 1 more chance to grab the ticket to Kansas City. Working with us today, Don Drysdale, who's been himself involved in moments like this. Both teams are tired, but so what?
Well, that's right, Keith. So what? Because they realize, as you say, the winner goes to Kansas City, the loser goes home and spends maybe a comfortable winner, maybe a miserable winner. But when we look at the 2 starting pitchers this afternoon, you're looking at a couple of things that are just a little bit different. Number 1, Ron Guidry has only pitched with 3 days rest 2 times this year. He's always worked with 4 days rest and pitched on the 5th. Bob Lemon geared him for this. He knew that if this came to be, he wanted his ace to go against the Boston Red Sox. And when you talk about that game years ago in 1948, the Cleveland Indians and the Boston Red Sox, it's kind of fate would have it. Because it was a left-hander at that time, Gene Bearden, who won the ball game for the Cleveland Indians. And at that time, of course, it was the Boston Red Sox who went home. But Mike Torres is going to try and counter that this afternoon. Last year, he was the kingpin in pinstripes for the New York Yankees. This year, wearing the uniform of the Boston Red Sox, coming over as a free agent, he'll try and turn the tide on his former teammates.
I would consider Mr. Guidry the Excalibur of the Yankee arsenal. He has been the man that has stopped them so many times this year. Coming out of a loss by the team, Guidry would come back and win one. Torres over the last month has not been that sharp.
He has not been that sharp. Matter of fact, the last time out, he had a very rocky game. And Don Zimmer said before the game, to see Mike Torres win that ball game 1-0, you really had to be here to see it and believe it, because he had 4 double plays behind him. He had 3-2 counts, 3 ball counts on all kinds of hitters. He walked 9 men. But still, that's the way the Red Sox were going, and maybe that was fate to be, because they are here this afternoon. He wins it 1-0, and he comes back to starting pitcher. And by the way, he is starting on his regular turn. Don Zimmer did not change his pitching lineup whatsoever. This would have been the day that Torres would have pitched, whether it was here or it might be next spring.
I realize this is a working day, first day of a new week, but grab as much time as you can, because we're going to have some fun at Fenway Park this afternoon.
What an introduction. First of all, that's 5 minutes. Nowadays, it's like a minute and a half as your scene setter. A 5-minute introduction in which at one point Keith Jackson was talking so fast that I originally thought that the video had been sped up. But no, he was just that amped. More important than a World Series at one point, he said.
The auctioneer patter of Keith Jackson. There's something to his voice that is at one half of it is big game announcer, but then there's another part to it that I go, he actually would have been a great PA announcer with his delivery and with the way that he draws things out to end each phrase that he gives you. Let me start with this though, Josh. I hate the yellow chyron with the black outlines.
The Yellow Jackets are a staple of ABC.
The unreality of the picture behind the broadcasters, where you're going, I feel like this is Christopher Reeve as Superman flying all over again. I know what you guys are working with, and it's not real. It's not pulling me off. But let me get to Don Drysdale. Josh, every time I watch Don Drysdale, every time I listen to him, I go, boy, he was really good.
Yeah, he was really good, and he became a very good play-by-play announcer as well. He learned basically from Scully, right? Once Drysdale finished his career, he learned from Vin. He initially was an analyst on national TV, looked good, sounded good, later learned how to do play-by-play as well. Drysdale turned himself into a fabulous announcer. Did
he try to pull off the Chris Collinsworth slide?
I was just about to say, yes, this was always ABC's thing, right? It started with Keith Jackson here. You're on the play-by-play announcer, and then the camera pans over or Collinsworth slides over. Again, 1978, they only had one microphone. Keith Jackson had to point the microphone, right?
I think that Keith gets his most effective when the camera first shows him. And he is looking you dead in the eye and telling you exactly how important this is. And I believe every word that he says.
All right. So let's get to some of the action from this game. And we're going to begin with the most famous part. And we're going to start with the most famous part because I want to illustrate how many things happened after the most famous part of this game. But we're going to start, since this is the Bucky bleeping Dent game, with the most famous part of this game.
You are now getting into, in vernacular of football, 4-down territory as we're in the 7th inning. And every opportunity missed will grow more and more costly. Checked and took. Low. Ball 1.
By the way, that is totally a strike nowadays on a check swing.
They had successive singles with 1 out. Now the bench batter, Spencer, retired on a fly ball to left. Dent against Boston, a 3-14 hitter. Bucky has had his base hits against Boston pitching. Rice, short and right, holding his glove up, shielding the sun. Foul at the plate. It looks like Bucky fouled it off the foot or ankle that has been a constant problem for him all season long. He has been wearing a little shin guard over that foot, but this time he chose to come without it, and bang.
And you think that doesn't hurt? He got it right down there on the instep, maybe a little higher than that.
Gene Monahan, the trainer for the Yankees, out in a hurry to have a look at it. And Bucky's in pain. Looks like it came right down on the ankle bone.
Well, this can be a little touchy for Bob Lemon because he's already pinch hit for Brian Doyle. And you figure Freddie Stanley's going to play. And if you're wondering, joined us late why Willie Randolph isn't in there, he has got the bad hamstring. So Lem's going to be running a little shallow in infielders.
All of this, by the way, is super important because there was talk at the time was why was Bucky Dent even allowed to bat, because he wasn't known as a very good hitter. And Drysdale just explains it's a shorter bench. They've already used this player. And now the drama builds as Bucky Dent has re-injured himself here at this time when maybe some Yankee fans were thinking we should be pinch hitting for him.
Dent will stay. Try to shake it off.
When they show Bucky
you have
again,
a long time bruise, and it never really quite heals, and you just keep banging on it and banging on it. Every time you do it, it just gets worse and worse.
look how much he chokes up here. Watch.
He will stay. 2 out, 2 on, 2-0 Boston, top of the 7th. Hit high in the air to left field. Going to the corner, Yastrzemski. It's over the wall. It's a home run for Bucky Dent. Yankees get the lead 3-2, and it's just cleared to Drysdale. Just cleared the top of the wall in left.
Now the Yankee dugout, who has been very quiet up till right now, they are out in fourth. The great Bucky Dent, and that ball just did get out of here, but he got the fastball up over the plate. And that ball just skimmed the top, and the Yankees now take the lead by a score of 3-2. And the Reds.
That's only temporary relief. Sometimes I wonder if it's relief at all. The bat boy brings Bucky a new bat, and he'll exchange bats. The count's 1-1. 2 outs and 2 on. The Red Sox lead at 2-0 in the 7th inning here at Fenway. Deep to left. Yastrzemski will not get it. It's a home run. A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2. Bucky Dent has just hit his 5th home run of the year into the screen. And look at that Yankee bench, led by Bob Lemon. Big Cliff Johnson out there. And a happy Bucky Dent. Yankees now lead 3-2. Well, the last guy on the ball club you'd expect to hit a home run. Just hit one into the screen. Bucky Dent.
And now Bucky will step back in with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Runners at first and second, 2 outs here in the 7th inning. The Yankees are trailing 2-0. Dent is the key man. Stretched by Torres, the set, the kick, and the pitch. Hit deep to left field. This one may be off the wall, maybe in the screen. Home run! Home run for Bucky Dent. Home run, and the Yankees lead it 3-2. Just in the net in left field, and the entire bench is out on the playing field. The dugout has emptied, waiting for Bucky Dent, who has put the Yankees out in front. 3-2. 3-2, the Yankees lead it on the Dent home run. And Frank Perez gets the ball up against the Bucky Dent. Bucky Dent hammered the ball into the net here.
I want to begin with Ken Harrelson noted that Bucky Dent had a new bat, that the bat boy, during this pause in play for the injury, had brought a new bat, and this was delivered by Mickey Rivers. Mickey and Bucky used the same model of bat, a Roy White bat, and Mickey had noticed that Bucky's bat was chipped. And so there's this legend, is the bat corked? Mickey said at one point it was, then he just said he was just having some fun, but Bucky has a new bat. He has used an old bat, perhaps a cracked bat, for his first 2 at-bats. Ken Harrelson notes that is a new bat in Bucky's hands, and it was delivered to him there. And you note how far he is choked up. Next, Josh, I want to point out what the broadcasters focus on after that ball leaves his bat. Because I've called games at Fenway Park, and I can tell you, because of the green monster, the challenge to the broadcaster is, do you watch the flight of the ball? Do you watch the left fielder? Ken Harrelson watches Yaz in left. Does Yaz have a play? What's going to happen? Frank Messer is watching the flight of the ball the whole time. And what he's wondering is it going to be off the ball? Is it going to be in the netting? Because of that, Frank is right on it to watch that ball disappear. The least likely thing. And I loved Harrelson pointing out that Bucky Dent, of all the people that you'd expect to hit a home run, not Bucky, number 5 of the year, had not homered since August the 16th, had hit 199 since then, the number 9 hitter in the order.
Love all of that. Because this was a day game, the shadows became such a huge part of this game, which we will definitely see later. Television back then was hard to pick up the flight of the ball. You did not have high-def cameras. As you just described, Jesse, Fenway's a hard place to call a game, especially a day game when it's really easy to lose that baseball. The Monster didn't have seats above it. The Monster did not have advertisements on it. It's a difficult call to make. And I would also say, Jesse, that whenever there was a lengthy delay due to an injury, I thought that all of the announcers did a really good job of resetting things. Okay, we've told you who's on the bases, what the score is. Remember, especially on TV, there was no score bug back then. This is who's on base. This is what the score is. This is the batter. So there was an immediate reset that everybody did. I still don't love any of the calls. I don't think that any of the calls are something that you would hear nowadays. But again, I think it's because sun, shadows. Really? Bucky Dent's about to hit a home run. Carl Yastrzemski going back on it. If you are watching a game from a monitor, you're not watching a big screen monitor back then. You're watching a tiny little box monitor inside your booth. So again, I understand why none of these calls are legendary. I think that all of them are just okay, but I think given the time period, given the challenges, I think they're all very effective calls.
The national radio call was Ernie Hartwell, and Hartwell later gave a tape of his call to Bucky Dent and apologized, saying, "I called it a fly ball. I did not think it was going to go." That was the case here. But Josh, so the Red Sox were leading 2-0. Bucky has hit a 3-run blast. If you could call it a blast, it barely got out. He needed to have choked up. It's now 3-2. Because it's the Bucky Bleep and Dent game, the final score is going to be 3-2, right?
No. So much more happened in this game. So much more happened in this game. So let's get to some of the other key plays that then led us to the 9th inning.
The shadows playing a little part in this game right now, too, because you can see as we get on our high camera and move out towards the pitcher's mound from home plate, you can see the shadows have been moving out during the course of the game, and Stanley coming out of the sun and into the shadows, and that can make it a little tough on the hitter, but not on Mr. Bucky Dent.
Rivers going. Munson swings and misses, and this bounces the throw to the second baseman, Remy, and Rivers has stolen his second base in this game. One strike pitch coming to Thurman Munson with 2 out. Rivers off second. Munson hits it into left center. It's going to drop in there for a base hit. Here comes Rivers to the plate. That's going to make it 4 New York 2. Lynn does not come up with it cleanly, and Munson goes on into second base. 4-2 Yankees.
Now, just like that, in the Red Sox 6th inning, they had a chance to break it open, and it took the catch by Lou Piniella to stop him right there, scoring only 1 run and keeping the score at 2-0. Now, Munson doesn't get all of this ball, but he gets it in a perfect location as Lynn was playing over in right center. And by the time that Freddie gets on the ball, it bounces away. They had no chance whatsoever to get Mickey Rivers. Munson ends up at second. The Yankees tallying 4 times here in the 7th inning.
The National League Championship Series between the Dodgers and the Phillies begins on Wednesday in the evening, and the American League game will be played in the afternoon on ABC, where you'll be watching it. Frank Duffy is now at third base for the Boston Red Sox, with Bob Stanley on in relief of Mike Torres, and Torres is the pitcher of record for Boston. Both starters are now gone, and Reggie Jackson takes ball 2 from Stanley. Bill Lee is now in the bullpen for Boston, the left-hander. Jackson today hitless in 3 trips. That's fouled away. 2 balls and a strike to Reggie.
I've just been sitting watching Al Rosen along with George Steinbrenner down by the Yankee dugout in the club box. I'll tell you, Al, he has been chewing nails, wiping his face.
High drive, center field, way in the air. Lynn looking, it is gone. 7th home run of the season, and the Yankees lead 5-2.
Now he got it all. There's no question about that. And here comes Don Zimmer, and that might be all for Bob Stanley. Not only did he get it high, but he hit it deep to the deepest part of the ballpark. And the New York Yankees, there's Al Rosen standing up. George Steinbrenner sitting right to the left of Al, clapping his hand. And you can see Al, he is breathing a little bit easier, but knowing him, he won't breathe until that final out's over.
Ball is hit up the middle for a base hit. Here comes Jerry Remy around second base. Rivers has it. He will not have any opportunity as Remy scores, and it's now 5-3. And the old pro does it one more time.
And the thing right here, just one swing of the bat, and the Red Sox have got it tied because the tying run is at the plate right now in the name of Carlton Fisk. Feel for you anytime, too.
Foul here. And our research fellow, Mr. Jerry Klein, on a safe place. Hit to left field, base hit. Here comes Jastrzębski around third. He will score. It is 5-4.
All right, so I'm going to stop it there, Jesse, so we can chime in here. So it's now 5-4. This was the 8th inning. The Red Sox did not score any more runs. But I want to get into some of the things that we just heard. The first thing that comes to mind is just the audio mixing and how much change there has been to audio mixing. When we did an episode on movies and broadcasting, and both of us really loved the natural and just the noise that was in the background. And I'm thinking about how you can just hear like these individual voices, right? You can hear people in the background in the press box, right? You can tell that it's just a jam tight area. I'm imagining that Keith Jackson and Don Drysdale are knee to knee and that there's hardly any space for them. And I just think that even though this is really old time, I actually love how terrible the audio mixing is because it makes me feel so great.
Can I tell you what I don't love is Don Drysdale. And maybe they respect each other. Maybe Drysdale respects Keith Jackson, but it doesn't sound like that on the air to me. Keith delivers a call. And then if you listen to Don's color commentary, he is being a play-by-play broadcaster and he's delivering his own call. He's looking over here at Flip Rosen next to the boss and distracting himself. They're not talking with each other. And then Keith Jackson comes back and promotes the upcoming schedule. But everything that Don Drysdale says is something that the play-by-play guy should say. Here comes the manager out of the dugout. The roles are wrong.
I feel like there's a number of times, especially in 1970s broadcast, and we see it here, where it's just all about, hey, here's a shot of somebody in the crowd. Let's talk about him. Here's Al Rosen. He's got anxiety. Who cares what Al Rosen is thinking right now? There's just this dramatic home run. Like, I don't care what Al Rosen's thinking.
And even on the dramatic home run, I've heard Keith Jackson when he's been amped, and he was not that amped for a gigantic home run by Mr. October. And he wasn't Mr. October yet, right? That comes in this World Series. But Reggie is still Reggie. So you have to be ready for Reggie to go and do Reggie things.
There was also an amazing catch by the fan of that home run. I don't know if he caught it on the fly, if he caught it off somebody's head, but you just see a guy with his hand out and he's got the ball, which was really impressive. There was also another note that I made going back to earlier when Keith Jackson says 4 down territory. Before the Bucky Dent at bat, he says, we're getting into 4 down territory, which, look, full disclosure, I think that Keith Jackson is the best college football announcer that I've ever heard in my life. He is my all-time favorite at college football. I am not a fan of his baseball play-by-play announcing. I think that when we get to the 9th inning here soon, he does a lot of things that I really like. In general, I just think that it's very just... right? I don't think he just has the natural voice that I prefer for a baseball announcer. But of course he had to say 4 down territory because he's a college football announcer, Jesse.
I think back to Joe Garagiola and Tony Kubek and all of these broadcasters who were contemporaries, who constantly were talking with each other. And I need some of that interplay between Don and Keith. I need you to talk to each other. And there's none of that. It's just two guys calling individual games.
Okay, well, now let's get to the ninth inning. And before we get to the ninth inning, I want to set up a couple of things. Number one, we are not going to hear Don Drysdale at all in the ninth inning. I'm assuming that ABC had him go down into the clubhouse so that he could do interviews afterward, which again goes to show the difference between a broadcast in 1978 and a current broadcast, Jesse, because now you've got Ken Rosenthal down on the field. You've got Tom Verducci down on the field. You've got plenty of people down on the field. The idea that the analyst would leave the booth in the ninth inning to go downstairs. And so Keith Jackson ends up doing the entire ninth inning by himself. And actually, I'm going to preview again here and say, I actually think that there's parts where he's really, really good. And I think there's other parts where he just doesn't know what to say because he's up there all by himself. The other thing is Ron Guidry started and he pitched on 3 days rest as it was set up at the start. Goose Gossage came on in the seventh inning. He gave up. He was just on the mound as he gave up some runs. Bob Lemon continues to go out to the mound numerous times throughout the eighth and ninth inning. Still does not take out Goose. He's back on the mound for this dramatic ninth inning. We're going to watch the entire ninth inning. Even though there's a lot that happens, it's only about 8.5 minutes. We'll pause it a few times. So let's get to the ABC telecast of the dramatic bottom of the ninth inning of the Bucky bleeping Dent game.
The Yankees are leading 5-4, and Dwight Evans has come to the on-deck circle. He is swinging a bat. We had Gary Hancock come out for a moment. He is the lone left-handed hitter remaining in the Boston Red Sox dugout. But it will be Dwight Evans hitting for Frank Duffy, the third baseman. Evans, the pinch hitter. Jim Rice playing right field today. Changes defensively for New York. Gary Thomason is in left field, and Paul Blair is in center field. On the mound for New York, Goose Gossage to face this man, Dwight Evans. There's Thomason in left. Defensive change by Bob Lemon. Blair in center. Center field, right field have to deal with the sun. The pitch to Evans is low, ball one. New York had a 5-2 lead. Red Sox battle back and got 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning on 4 hits. A double and 3 singles. High fly ball short to the left field and playable for Thomason. 1 out.
I want to pause briefly to mention 2 quick things, Jesse. Number one, Dwight Evans, borderline Hall of Fame candidate later in life, did not start this game. He comes in off the bench. And I also am fascinated watching old games where there's just papers all over the field and nobody bothers to go pick them up. There is a ton of papers behind Thomason in left field here.
Let me also say, Keith Jackson does such a good job this whole broadcast in letting you know, where's the sun?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I do enjoy the way that he said high fly ball there. And earlier he said slide for it. So he does very good job of elongating these words.
Now Goose Gossage needs 2 outs to send the Yankees into the American League playoffs for a 3rd successive season against Kansas City. The defending world champion. Rick Burleson struck out looking, bounced to third, doubled and scored, rolled a short. The pitch is low, ball one. George Steinbrenner, principal owner of the New York Yankees. Al Rosen to his left, Cedric Tallis in the middle. Anxiety there. Low, ball 2.
By the way, I don't think Goose Gossage threw anything other than a fastball this entire game.
Nobody on. 5-4. Outside. Violent play in the New York bullpen. Burleson, good speed, gets on base, represents the tying run for the Red Sox. Strike on the inside corner, 3-1. Jerry Remy is on deck, then Jim Rice.
moves on. That's the first walk by Goose Gossage, and Sparky Lyle is in the Yankee bullpen along with Ken Clay. Looks like he might be ready to come if he gets the call from Bob Lemon. Don Zimmer, Al Jackson at his elbow. The batter, Jerry Remy, Jim Rice to the on-deck circle. The pitch is fouled away, out of play, going into the crowd as Greg Nettles chases it all the way to the wall. It's been a long ball game. You figured it would be. Swing and a miss. 2 strikes on Jerry Remy with Burleson at first. Remy has doubled in 3 trips. Fouled here. The Yankee dugout. Bob Lemon, man in the middle. Art Fowler. Clyde King standing behind Bob Lemon. Ball is hit to the right side. Piniella stares into the sun. Can't find it. It's in there for a base hit. Burleson stops at second base as Piniella had a brilliant throw in from right field. He lost the ball in the sun, but I don't believe he could have caught it. Maybe. But whatever, he had no chance because he simply couldn't see it. Now watch, Remy hit it right on the nose. The pitch was up over the plate, and Jerry got most of it. And you can see as we pick up Piniella in the outfield looking for it. And suddenly there was the ball in front of him. He might have been able to catch it.
I'm going to pause it right there, Jesse, because Lou Piniella saved the game right here. If it gets by him, it's probably a tie game. He could not see the ball. The shadows, again, were fierce that day in Boston.
I have read that Burleson, the runner, was deked by Piniella in right. And Burleson, in looking back, felt that Piniella had to play the whole time. And because of that, he's not running hard. As I'm watching this, I don't see that from Piniella. I see those arms outstretched. I would think as a runner, he is helpless right now. I got to go. But Burleson doesn't go.
And once again, we're hearing Keith Jackson. It's just Jerry Remy. Jim Rice is on deck. Then Fred Lynn, right?
Well, you made the great point about Goose Gossage's stuff. I hadn't even thought about that. You or I, if we're broadcasting a game, we're going to mention what kind of pitch is coming in. He hasn't even said the word fastball.
Part of that is because I don't know if Keith Jackson was that astute in different pitches, but also more importantly, that's all that Goose Gossage was throwing. Also, how quick is this inning? We don't need no pitch timer. Just get the ball and throw.
I mean, that was baseball for the vast majority of baseball history. Pitcher gets it, throws, batter swings.
All right. With that in mind, let's get back to it.
I don't know. Whatever it goes for a base hit. Now the crowd is alive. The tying run is at second base in Rick Burleson. The batter is Jim Rice. Foul out of play. Jim Rice has singled in 4 trips today. 46 home runs on the regular season. Big hole left center for Rice. 1 out, 2 aboard. The winning run is at first base in Remy. The tying run at second, and Burleson. Rice hits it high in the air and deep to right field. Piniella goes back. Has a bead, has it. Burleson tags at second, goes to third. 2 out. Rice did not get a lot of it. Fielded off to right. Now the batter. As Bob Lemon goes to the mound, the batter will be Carl Yastrzemski.
So we've got back-to-back Hall of Famers. On this call, how do you not mention the fact that Piniella, who just lost the ball in the sun, finds this ball in the sun?
Even if Piniella makes the play on the Remy single, if Burleson is not faked out by it, he's at third. That's a sac fly. We got to tie a game. Instead, it's first and third. So, yeah, so many Hall of Famers. At this point in Fred Lynn's career, most people probably thought he was going to the Hall of Fame, right? And so, yes, the quantity of Hall of Famers in this game is just really something.
Keith said that Rice didn't get a lot of it. I think he did get a lot. He didn't get enough, but he hit the tar out of that ball.
He just missed it.
Like I said, this ball game has had everything involving the personalities, the history of this rivalry, the history of this ballpark and the franchise, the fact that both the American and National Leagues this year went over 20 million for the first time in baseball history, totaling better than 40 million for both of them. The place is full today. Everything in the world I think you could want in a baseball game we've had here this afternoon. Bob Lemon will leave Rich Gossett.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for a little perspective. It's the second time that Keith Jackson has mentioned how Major League Baseball went over 40 million and what a huge deal that is. I looked it up, Jesse. Last year, Major League Baseball drew 71 million fans. Now, granted, there's 4 more teams. There was 26 back then. There's 30 now. So on average in 1978, each team on average about 1.5 million total fans. Last year on average about 2.3 million fans per team, which goes to show how much more baseball has grown even since then. Okay, I know that I like to criticize Keith Jackson's baseball, but the setup that he is about to do for this next at bat, I think, is Keith Jackson at his best.
Carl Yastrzemski will come to the plate. Yes, who has been here for so long, signed as a free agent by the Red Sox in 1959. Named 14 All-Star teams in 17 years in the Major League. "39 years of age. He has hit a home run and a single in this ball game. Now it is up to Yaz. The tying run is at third base. The winning run is at first base. That is Rick Carlson at third. Jerry Remy at first. The pitch is low. Ball 1. On deck, Carlton Fisk.
Another Hall of Famer.
Goose Gossett. High pop-up. Nettles should have it. Yankees win. Carl Yastrzemski pops it up. Just back at third base for Greg Nettles, and the New York Yankees have won their way into the American League Championship Series against Kansas City tomorrow night. The second time in American League history there has had to be a playoff game to determine a division champion or a champion of any kind. And it falls to Goose Gossett to come on in relief of Ron Guidry. And it was that solo home run by Reggie Jackson in the top of the 8th inning for that 5th New York run that made the difference.
You see the big swing in this game. Reggie Jackson, just like you heard from Keith. Josh, that poor, sad organist.
I love that there was a couple of Yankee fans that tried to run on the field and the Boston security was just like, no.
Let me give you this quick quote from after the game. Did you see this from Yaz? "It just wasn't meant to be, that's all. But I'll tell you something. Yaz is going to be on a world champion before he retires from this club. There's just too much talent on this club not to win it." Yaz wasn't, but, you know.
All right. Let's now listen to how Red Sox radio described the end of this game.
Well, Johnny Pesky had gone in to get some instruction from Don Zimmer, and he's out talking to Remy at first base, saying, "Hey, what do you think about us head down to second base and try some possibility of a delayed steal, depending on the count to Yastrzemski?"
By the way, what is he talking about? You're going to try a double steal with Yaz at the plate?
No way.
Terrible. What do you mean they're thinking about a double steal? No. Yaz is at the plate. Let Yaz hit.
Is staying in. It was against Gossage that Yaz singled to center field in the 8th inning. And the whole ballpark is up as the captain walks to the plate. He wants plate umpire Jenkinger to look at the baseball. It seems to be okay, and Gossage gets the ball back.
Little gamesmanship.
So here it is. We're at it right now. Red Sox battling in the 9th inning to try to tie it up now and to try to win it now. Jerry Remy at first base. Rick Burleson at third. 2 out. Gossage ready to challenge Yastrzemski. Here it is. Low, ball 1. 1 ball, no strikes to Yaz. Fisk on deck. A frenzied Fenway Park. Gossage ready. Yastrzemski tugs at the belt. Steps in. Here's the pitch. A high pop-up to the left side. In fair ground is Greg Nettles. In foul ground is Nettles. He's got, and the Yankees win the pennant. Yastrzemski fouls out to end it all at Fenway Park with 2 outs in the 9th and the tying run at third, the winning run at first. Nettles taking a foul ball, just as Brohammer did yesterday, to force this into the extra day. But the Yankees have won it, and Reggie Jackson's home run was the winning hit, as it turned out. In the 9th inning, the Red Sox, no runs. They had a hit, and they left 2 big ones on base. The final score, the Yankees 5, the Red Sox 4. We'll wrap it up in a moment.
I think that that's a fine call leading up to it, and then you can hear the air coming completely out of the sails after Nettles makes the catch.
If we want to nitpick, they didn't win the pennant. They won the division.
Yeah, they won the East. That's it.
Right. Divisional play, the championship series began in 1969. This is now the 9th year that there is the division play. Sometimes I forget what it means to win the pennant. So I'm not going to nitpick that too much. Yeah, I really did not like the whole, maybe double steal kind of thing. But then after that, referring to Yaz as the captain, referring to Yaz and what he's done, the way that he's tugging on his belt, stepping in. I think that this is I think that overall this is a really good call there at the end, especially under the circumstances of everything that the Red Sox went through, from a 14-game lead to 3.5 game back to forcing the 1-game tiebreaker to having the lead. All of that, you can just think about how deflated everyone in Red Sox Nation was. And I think that this is a good summation without sounding like a whiny fan, but you can hear in the heart what this means.
Yeah, that phrase of a frenzied Fenway Park before that last fateful pitch.
All right, we got one more that we're going to listen to. So let's listen to Yankees radio, and the television broadcast from the Yankees has been superimposed on this so that we can see the action and we can listen to Yankees radio.
The batter is Jerry Remy. Remy twice has flied to left. He has sacrificed and doubled. Blair in center moves over toward left field. Fanella straightens up in right. Thomason toward the corner and left. And the pitch. Hit down the left field line, foul ball. It'll be back in the seats, out of play. Nettles gave it a run, but no chance. Sparky Lyle and Ken Clay are throwing in the Yankee bullpen. Gossage with the pitch. Swing and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes on Jerry Remy.
This is Frank Messer, by the way, on Yankees radio.
Gossage to the belt. The pitch coming. Foul back up the screen. Let's pause 5 seconds for station identification on the New York Yankee Radio Network.
The champion of rock, 3WD, WWWD, Schenectady.
champion of rock.
On Remy. Burleson at first, the pitch, line to right field. Piniella did not see the ball. He gets it on one hop, throws wildly to the third, and the runner stops at second. Piniella never saw it. He was extremely lucky that at the last second, he saw it and stabbed it one-handed out of bounds. Piniella, looking into the sunshine, never saw it. He put the glove up and flagged it down on one hop. Made a wild, strong throw back to the infield to hold the tying run to second base. Jim Rice fouls one back over the roof. If you had written a script for the Red Sox for this game, for a comeback inning, you could not have written a better one. With runners at first and second, ninth inning, and the league's leading hitter, Jim Rice, at the plate. The 0-1 pitch. Hit high in the air to deep right field. Piniella sees this one. He's under it. Makes the catch. Tagging up at second. Going to third. Burleson, no throw there. There are 2 outs as Rice flies out to Piniella in right.
I want to pause it here just to remind people that there was 3 different television broadcasts. We've seen the ABC, there was the Red Sox feed. This is the Yankees feed. And you can see some of the subtle differences that the director is making. I love the shot that we just saw of Jim Rice as he goes back to the dugout. His hands are up, touching the top of the dugout. You can see the frustration in his body as he sits down. And I think that Frank Messer does an outstanding job here of the sun. And as you pointed out earlier, Jesse, he does see this one.
He connects it. Just connect your calls. And he has elevated this entire moment. So I'm enjoying this Frank Messer call throughout. He's crushing this.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that Messer is nailing it. Here we go with more.
Lemon goes back toward the Yankee dugout, and Yastrzemski will be up with the tying run at third. A runner at first and 2 outs here in the 9th inning. Can Gossage get Yastrzemski, or will Yastrzemski tie it up or perhaps win it for Boston? Well, I guess this is what is known as drive time for our driving commuters in the New York area. If you are driving, drive carefully. And if I explode here in the booth, don't you do so on the highway. 2 outs. The Yankees lead 5-4. And the pitch to Yastrzemski. Low, ball 1. Burleson at third. Remy at first. 2 outs here in the bottom half of the 9th inning. Piniella deep out in right field toward the corner. Fighting the sun. Having trouble seeing. The set by Gossage. The pitch. Popped up, left side, Nettles, under it. The Yankees win it. The Yankees win it 5-4 and go to Kansas City. The Yankees win it 5-4 and will go on to Kansas City. A mob scene on the field as the Yankee bench charges out to congratulate the players. Yastrzemski popped up to Nettles, who made the catch in foul territory near third. And the Yankees have defeated the Red Sox to win the Eastern Division Championship by a final score of 5-4. The Yankees, 5 runs on 8 hits with no errors. Boston, 4 runs, 11 hits, and no errors.
The kerning on that last graphic was just the worst, but that's okay. Also, Josh, did you notice on the first pitch to Yastrzemski, we saw it called and heard it called low by Red Sox radio, by Yankees radio. I'm sorry, I think that pitch was inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's not low, but that's with you and me. If you're not calling the game off the monitor, if you're calling it from up above, I could understand how that mistake was made. Now let's talk about drive time.
Yes. Tell me more about drive time.
This is so good. It's so human. He reaches out and he talks to exactly where you are. He knows that you're in rush hour traffic. He knows that you are listening in, and he's connecting it to himself. He is a human being. If I explode in this booth, don't you explode out there. It's so good.
I'm thinking about if you were in your car and you're on, say, the Long Island Expressway or something, and you're traveling back home, and the number of people who just probably started honking their horns in a celebration and looking around as the Yankees win this game. And then on the other side, how many people driving home from work who are Red Sox fans, right? And how many people are slamming on their brakes out of frustration?
I've been there on both sides with the ecstasy, the misery, the agony of defeat when my team, while I'm listening on the radio and I'm driving, when things don't go so well. It's so good. I think where Frank falls off a little bit is with his elation, because once that foul goes up, he is beyond exhilarated, and so he's just going to keep on repeating the same things. Although I appreciate that he gets the important things. Mm-hmm. It's 5-4. Yankees win. Yankees are AL East champs. We're off to Kansas City.
I really enjoyed listening to all these calls and going back and comparing and contrasting. And I also just think I like to use the phrase time capsule, because I really do think that this once again shows us of what it was like to watch baseball back in 1978. Overwhelmingly, when you watch a highlight, I know that people picked up on this, you see the exact same thing. You don't see a different angle. Like nowadays, you see a highlight and it's a different angle. It's the first base camera. It's the third base camera. It's the high home camera. It's the left field monster camera, right? You see the game from all these different angles. Back then, the replay was literally what you just saw, except slow motion.
Can I tell you too, the Red Sox are wearing red stirrups, and that just bothers me. I need the Red Sox to be in red socks, like I need my White Sox to be in white socks. If you're the Reds, you can wear red stirrups.
I like the radio calls, just the static. This is AM radio. And how, some people were watching this game on television, but most people were at work, right? The scene was set with Keith Jackson and with Jim Woods about how important this is, and if you can steal some time during your day, right? We didn't have phones back then where we could watch the highlights. The only way that you would know what is happening is if you had this radio on in your office. If you had this, not too many offices even had televisions in 1978. So there's a few people who are not working who are watching this game on television. Maybe they took the day off work or something like that. Maybe they took a half day. But overwhelmingly, Jesse, the way that people knew what was happening in this game was a transistor radio. It was being in their car. It was this office radio that they were listening to as they went about their day. And this is how this unbelievably dramatic, important, franchise-changing game took place, and how people heard it and understood what was going on. And it's now known as the Bucky bleeping Dent game.
Well, about that, so let's get into the framing. The Yankees have the lefty ready in the bullpen, at a good one in Sparky Lyle. They don't go to him. They stick with the goose. You could, if you wanted to frame it this way, say Yaz choked like the Red Sox choked away this season. The Red Sox had the comfortable lead. The Yanks came back and caught him. The Red Sox had the tying run 90 feet away. They've got the game-winning run on the bases, and they can't come through. That's one angle. We heard two different broadcasters say, game-winning blast, Reggie Jackson. Reggie supplied the key swing. He's the celebrity. He goes nationwide. Everybody in the country knows who Reggie is. But when this game ends, the narrative flips, and all the focus turns instead to the guy who put the Yankees up 3-2.
Bucky Dent, right? So there was another story that came out. Tom Verducci for Sports Illustrated, I want to say 6-7 years ago, he wrote this fabulous piece about how there was a newspaper strike in New York in the summer of 1978, and how the Yankees had been struggling. Remember, they won the World Series in 1977 with Billy Martin as the manager. Billy gets fired mid-season the next year. Bob Lemon takes over. They go on this great run after Bob Lemon takes over, the steadying force. after Billy Martin with all of his great strategies, but also crazy. And there was a newspaper strike that happened that summer, Jesse, and Tom Verducci did a beautiful job of documenting how there just wasn't as many reporters at the Yankees clubhouse, and it took a lot of the pressure off them because it was no longer the feeding frenzy that it was the year before with Billy and Reggie and Steinbrenner. And so the Yankees go on this fabulous run, but then they choke away a 3.5 game lead on September 16th. And now the Red Sox have come back, and the game is played at Fenway. And it just, I think that this game, as much as I love the 7-game series that the Yankees and Red Sox did in the early 2000s and how dramatic those games were with the home runs, I feel like, especially the Red Sox fans that I know, this was the game more than any other that just made them think, oh my gosh, we are just never going to beat the darn Yankees, because even Bucky bleeping Dent takes away our chances of winning.
Fascinating thing is, and by the way, I love that ABC calls this the American League East championship game. I like that better than tiebreaker. Yanks go on to win the World Series. They don't win another World Series until 1996. They go on their own hiatus after this year.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
This is fun.
Was.
I mean, not fun for Bostonites to relive this, but they've had championships since then.
Fun
Curse
for
is
us.
over.
Yeah. Fun for us to relive it and to get into the various different calls of all the different announcers and how technology. The other thing that I can't emphasize enough is the size of television screens. We take for granted how big they are and how much information you can put on a television screen. Back then, they were tiny. There's only so much information that would fit on a TV screen. You couldn't have a score box. It would take up 1/4 of the screen.
Yeah, they tried to put up the standings, and it's too much. It's
Yes.
too much. Yeah. Hey, thanks for choking up with me.
Touche.
Yeah. For Josh Sushan, the voice of the Albuquerque Isotopes, I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler with the Lansing Lugnuts, and this has been Crafting the Call.